All right, here we go. Salute to NBA Nation on this Friday afternoon. Another NBA report at Knicks Fan TV simulcast. CP the Franchise joining me today. He covers New York sports and sports at large, man, for New York Post podcast. Check out his show, New York Got Game. Our guy Dexter Henry is in the building. On today's show, NBA preseason has tipped off. We're going to talk about the new look Knicks offense as the Knicks cruise past the Sixers in Abu Dhabi. Plus, Zion Williamson and the Pelicans make their debut down in Melbourne, Australia. Is it boom or bust now for Zion Williamson, man? Can he rebound? And is he out of time here? We will see. Plus, man, Rockets coach Ime Udoka talking about the new look Rockets and bully ball. Can they survive without Fred VanVleet this year, man? That plus more. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Salute to everybody in the chat. KFTV, NBA Report, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you guys are watching from. Salute to you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. All right, man. Happy Friday, my guy. How you feeling, bro?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. It was good to see basketball back yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. It was good to see basketball back. But I'm well. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. And, you know, Kaz, our guy Kaz, had said it best yesterday on Twitter. He said, right now, we got thousands of Knicks fans as analysts on Twitter right now at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on their lunch break and their work hours. And this is preseason basketball. So this tells you where the anticipation is at right now.
Oh, yeah. It was so good to watch because yesterday I was working too, and I was at the fan working, and then I was watching on Twitter, watching everybody's analysis and what they liked, what they didn't like. So, like, that was really fun to see. But you're right. It really put in perspective, like, yo, this season is right upon us, and everybody can't wait. Everybody can't wait for this season. This is easily the most anticipated Knicks season probably since 94, 95?
Yes.
Easily. So, you know, we're talking 30 years, 3 decades. So, yeah, man, the anticipation's at an all-time high. I can't wait, but it was good to see some basketball back on the court yesterday. It was good.
Yeah, for sure, man. So let's start with the orange and blue. The New York Knicks, 99-84. They get the first of 2 out in Abu Dhabi against the Sixers. What was a couple of your takeaways, man? What'd you think?
Yeah, a couple of my takeaways was like, look, offense is still a work in progress, which I think if you're being realistic, you expected. I didn't think they were going to come out just humming offensively, particularly the starters. Now, starters played a lot together. I thought it's interesting. We saw the double big lineup. The news came out before that Mitch would start, but also that OG was out and Dadier was getting started. Now, that was really interesting because a lot of people are thinking about, well, was this the Knicks showcasing Dadier? Or I like to look at it too is, the Knicks also needed to see Dadier get some minutes because if he's still on this roster, if a guy like OG is out, if Mikal Bridges is out, you need to see what you got out of him and can he handle it. Now, he had some rough moments because he missed open shots. He got great looks and didn't knock them down, but he did have that and one that was pretty good. And then also he was pretty good on the glass too, I thought. Didn't look lost defensively. So I was fine with him overall.
Yeah.
I think if you look at it offensively, you'd have liked a little bit better than him. But I think the standouts has to be the 2 things. One, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, he talked all about his new diet and everything he's done. And, you know, everybody's in the best shape of their life in preseason and training camp, right? But I think when you looked at him, how he was just moving, especially if you know, all the Knicks fans out there, you guys watch every game, and you looked at how he was moving last year coming back. He just looked more spry.
Yes.
He looked a lot more fluid in his movements. He was doing good even moving along the baseline and the dunker spot. I liked what he said there, but obviously it's what he did on the glass. 16 boards, 5 offensive. I mean, it shows you I could change the game. Now, what I also thought was interesting, CP, the Knicks struggled to rebound when he was not on the floor. And then the other thing for me too is like when you connect it to Mitch, Cad looked interesting at power forward. Mike Brown talked about moving him about a lot, and you saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
You saw Cat moving in different spots. And then I also thought Cat was reading and reacting pretty well. He had that one drive, it was in the first quarter, he drove on the left side, and he got doubled, and he made a great pass to Dadier, who missed a 3. But I just like the fact that he was looking to make that pass out of that situation. That was very telling to me. And I think the other major thing is Deuce McBride.
Yeah.
Deuce McBride looked comfortable. That was the key to me. He looked comfortable in the offense with the ball movement. He was indecisive. He was doing some things off the dribble. I think that's key for him. So I like those things. You know, overall, the offense, you could still see guys were trying to figure out where they needed to be, how they needed to cut. I thought Mikal Bridges had some decent moments where he actually attacked the rim,
Yes.
got to the line. I was like, whoo, Knicks fans got to be happy to see that. But overall, look, this is going to be a work in progress. But I think if you're looking for more fluidity in the offense, you have to like what they're trying from with Mike Brown. Even Jalen Brunson, there was some off ball action for him. That was something I was really keeping an eye on. And I think Brunson, I don't know where you are, CP, because I'm very curious to hear what you think about this. Some people, and I've talked to my colleague Stephen Bondi about this, some people are a little skeptical about Brunson's ability to do some good work off the ball. I'm not. I actually think he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about that. I think it's actually a smart play from Mike Brown because it'll save him when you need to put the ball in his hands later in games. The Knicks are playing everything for later in the playoffs. They are trying to stay fresh, and I think that is smart, and I think it's a good plan. So I thought Brunson, Brunson didn't look. Again, it's preseason game one.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too crazy about it, but I think Brunson's going to figure some things out and how he needs to be utilized off the ball, especially early in games. But I don't know what you thought about it, but I
Yeah.
thought it was a good start to see just more guys moving and less stagnation.
For one, I thought Mitch showed just exactly why he needs to start. He needs to have a prominent role and why he's so important to this team because he just does all the little things that they just don't have the luxury of having right now. Like they just don't have it. And so that's why to me he's so important. And does it mean that they as Mike Brown said in his press conference, they went fast, but they need to be faster. Maybe that's not with Mitch in the lineup. And maybe you have a situation where similar to Tibbs teams of the past with the deeper bench where you have two different units pushing the pace at different tempos. Maybe it's something of that nature. Like, I don't think we can go in here expecting Brown to run the same offense or the Knicks to run the same offense that Sacramento ran because first and foremost, they were running it with a way faster guard in De'Aaron Fox. So playing to your player's strengths is still going to be important, but also finding that middle ground where you still have the ball movement. It's not as sticky, but you're still allowing guys to be themselves, so to speak. So even when it comes to Jalen, like I have seen that where there are doubts that he can handle more off ball. People point to the World Cup, FIBA World Cup and all of that. Again, I think they will find a happy medium. And it doesn't mean that he's just running off ball and catch and shoot situations. Maybe he's just getting the ball in different spots where he can still get in his isolation bag, but it's not as laborious as it's, starting from the top of the key, starting from half court, and then it's 11 seconds on the shot clock. So I still think they can get into their sets quicker and still get in advantageous situations where he can still be effective. Just time will tell.
There's a lot of stuff you said there that I liked. I think one of the last things you just said was getting into sets quicker. That's sometimes a part of playing faster, right? Can you start your first actions with 20 on the shot clock instead of 14?
Right.
That is huge. That is huge because if something has blown up, you can change. You can do things differently. I think that's huge. And the other thing you mentioned about just Jalen, one of the reasons, and Brian Fonseca, who comes on me a lot to do our show, New York Got Game, he made a good point. He's like, look, Jalen played off the ball early in his career off of Luka Doncic and Spencer Dinwiddie, two guards who were ball dominant on the same team that he was on. So I'm confident he could do it. If you looked at yesterday, there was this one play that sticks out to me. I remember Jalen Brunson came off of curl, sort of inside the free throw line. He caught it, and what I thought was actually, it didn't work, the play, but it was just interesting in what Mike Brown was trying to do. He pump faked, got the defender to bite, and then he tried to bounce pass it to Mitchell Robinson, who was in the dunker spot. The pass was a little awry. But just even that thought of like how you're moving him, the defense has to now pay attention to him, and he can be a willing passer. I thought that was huge. Like that, they didn't connect on that play, but the mindset of things like that is things I think he's comfortable in. I think Jalen's a willing passer. I think Jalen Brunson's a winning player is pretty much all of what I'm saying, and I think he's going to do what it takes to win. And sure, will there be growing pains with this at times? Of course. But at the end of the day, I think he knows it's going to benefit the team. And the last thing I want to say to what you said, CP, is I think the other thing you mentioned that was a great point is that playing faster doesn't mean every lineup is playing at the same pace, right? So you're going to adjust to different things. And some smaller lineups, some lineups without Mitch, like you said, could play at a different speed. But as long as you still have the same mentality, I think that can be good. Now, I think what we should be looking for is like, how is Mike Brown using the versatility that he has within this roster and trying to maximize it offensively and defensively as best as he can.
Yeah, no question about it. And when you mention the different units and the versatility, I like what I saw with the 3 guard rotation of Deuce, Clarkson, Hart. I think they had them out there with Bridges and Cat, and at times I think it was with Bridges and with Cat and Mitch as well. I liked how those guys were going. Those were the units where Deuce was excelling. Clarkson, it looked like he was just trying to just get into a rhythm. But overall, you saw, especially with those 3 guards, each one had an opportunity to initiate offense. Each one had an opportunity to bring the ball up. And that's where, especially in this 9-man configuration, because he says he may go 10, but I have a hard time seeing how consistent Brogdon's minutes will be once he makes the team. But I think we got a glimpse of how that 3-guard rotation may be able to work depending on who you put out there. And if you have McCall out there, you have Josh out there, and maybe even when you play with Cat, you got multiple guys that can play make on the court. That might have some promise there. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see more of that lineup. I think that's the best thing we're going to see. I think we're going to see just more lineups. And this is why I think, and listen, I was in the camp of starting Deuce. I'm not saying that I know whether that's still going to happen or not. I think it's a stronger indication from everybody you talk to, and then what you saw yesterday, and the fact that Mitch started there leaning that way. And I think you also see, as you said, CP, so beautifully, is that you see the value of Mitch, right? Going to double big lineup. But I don't think what I see from yesterday is I don't think Mike Brown's going to be afraid to mix and match lineups, to play with the 3 guards, say, oh, this is working. This cooks against this team. And that's what I want to see out of the head coach.
Yeah.
I want to see the malleability. I want to see the versatility. I want to see that out of the coach. And I think we saw a little bit of that. And listen, it's good. It should be good, but there's going to be growing pains, like I said. And I think Knicks fans have to be patient with it and not expect it all to come together at once. I think the offense could look a lot better. Yabusele, you didn't see a great showing from yesterday, but I'm not going to go crazy over that too. I thought Brogdon played well in the minutes late he had. Garrison Matthews also played late in the minutes he had. Landry Shamet didn't shoot the ball well, but played good defensively. And we'll see. I'm intrigued to see what Dadier does with more of his minutes. Kolek was fine. Didn't get hunted as much on defense as I thought he would. But yeah, we'll see. This is all a work in progress, but I think if you're a Knicks fan, it is a welcome departure from what you previously saw. And that's not shade to Tibbs. It's just the Knicks needed to evolve and grow offensively, and this is part of the evolution.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see Gary. They called him Gary Bird. Gary Bird was out
I
there.
didn't
Yeah, I saw that in the comments. Somebody in the comments said,
Gary Bird.
I want Gary Bird.
Like
he makes 3. He goes 3 for 4 from downtown. You already know they want him in the rotation. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because he ain't come here to go back home. So in the battle for that final spot, because I think he's going to get the spot. He needs it. They need it. But,
and the way he's talked is,
yes,
like he's talked about it like
it's almost promised.
His comments, like he's like, "Yo, man, this is in the bag." But to your point, I like a player like Garrison Matthews, Gary Bird in camp because that's a guy who's not trying to go back. You know what I'm saying?
He's not trying to go back.
He's not trying to go back. He's like, "Yo, I'm here. I'm trying to stay in the league, or at least I'm trying to show another team that they might want to pick me up." And I think somebody had commented, I think on the video I did yesterday with Brandon London, they were like, yo, Garrison Matthews should make the roster. And it's like, look, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're still going to try to trade one of these young guys and keep 2 vets on. I have mixed feelings about that, CP.
Yeah.
I don't think they should give up Dadier.
Me neither.
I don't think you give up a guy that's 6'8". I still like Dadier's shooting motion. I still think he's got enough good feel for the game that I like. And I know the Knicks, I've heard that from the Knicks, people around the Knicks, that they're high on him and that, it's been reported he's had a good summer. Steph has reported that. James Edwards has reported that as well, too. I think you need somebody. They don't have another guy like him on the roster that, again, if Mikal Bridges goes down, if OG Anunoby goes down to 6'8", that's big wing. They don't have another guy like that really on the roster. So I think he's a guy you want to keep. Now, if you can move Kolek, that's different. And I know the Kolek Hive is probably in the comments coming for me right now, but I I don't know if you want to go give up, just have the two vets. I understand why, but if you do it, you better be right in those two vets. And I also agree with you. You made another good point about Brogdon as a 10th guy. I think Brogdon came in here knowing that if he, as a 10th guy, some games he's not going to play.
Right.
You got to know that when you sign that, especially at a non-guaranteed contract. So, and I think that's fine. I think some nights you will see 10. I think some nights I think mostly you'll see 9, but some nights you'll see 10. Now, just the fact that we're talking about 9 or 10 as compared to what we saw in the Tom Thibodeau, that's huge. That's huge for this team and to where they're trying to go and how they're trying to approach the regular season. So we'll see.
Yeah. A couple other things in this one. I did like their attempts to play fast, especially in transition. They won the transition battle by quite a bit. And just overall, just pushing the ball ahead when the opportunity presented itself. They found Dadier, they found different guys out there in transition. And look, just trying to get different ways to score when the defense is not set is obviously the name of the game. And they have a lot of guys. You know what I like? They leaned in on their guard depth. They leaned in on their guard depth to really push the pace, push the tempo. And it was interesting. We'll see how they fare tomorrow, man.
Yeah, we'll see. And you saw, to that point, you saw guys leaking out. So that showed me, too, it was like, oh, this is a mindset. Guys are trying to get out. Because that's also part of playing faster. Just like you said, CP, it's trying to get buckets when the defense isn't set. Everybody's trying to do that in the NBA. How do I get easier buckets? How do I make scoring less laborious? That is a name to the game. And so I like what the Knicks are starting to do. I'm intrigued to see how they look tomorrow. I'm also intrigued to see who plays, who doesn't play. Is Mike Brown going to maybe chill on some of the starters, let them sit back for a bit, especially because they're going to travel back to the States after this? How he plays that, and then let him rest, and they're going to practice back until the next game on Thursday against the Timberwolves. So that'll be interesting. I'll be there in person to see him. So that'll be interesting to see what kind of lineups are played tomorrow.
Yeah, I do wonder if a guy like, does Mitch play? I mean, he did well. They all did well in terms of just getting in at the half. But I do wonder if guys like Mitch, how much Brunson, even Towns plays in this second half, the second game compared to yesterday's game. On the Sixers side, Maxi's Maxi, but VJ Edgecombe was one who made his debut. I was kind of impressed with Edgecombe's game, man. He showed off some good athleticism. He tried to scale the block nest monster. Mitch wasn't having that. He tried the wrong one. One.
That was one of those moments where I was like, oh, nah.
Yeah, nah.
Right? Like I thought he was going to catch him.
Yeah.
But I respect it. I respect it by the young fella. I expect him trying to do that. But Mitch was like, nah, son. We're not having that.
Nah.
So I like that.
Yeah. But,
he looked good, though. He looked good.
And I think overall, look, from Philly's standpoint, given where they are with kind of just in that middle ground or that no man's land, really, in terms of like Embiid and George, I think they have a good fallback plan in terms of the young players, especially, they drafted McCain last year. He's hurt, unfortunately, again. Yeah. They have Maxey leading the way. And now with Edgecombe, at least in their guard rotation, even though there is kind of a glut there because they just re-signed Grimes, I like the potential there in the event that, or not in the event, when the whole shoe falls off with Embiid and George. It's not like they're necessarily going to be in a no man's land. Like, they have a good foundation to build on.
Yeah, they do. Last year, that team is you're right. I love that you put it there in no man's land, because there's some people that I've talked to, and they're like, well, if the Sixers get it together, they could be top 3 or 4 in the East. And I'm like, maybe. If they're healthy.
Yeah.
But what I hear from you, CP, is like, I'm not willing to bank on the fact that they're healthy. No. And I understand that. And so I think where they're in is also a tough spot, because they have some nice young guards. And I think when you think about, okay, what's the quickest path to the Sixers getting back to contention? Can you trade Paul George? You can, but who wants all that money and for what? What are you getting back? Can you trade Joel Embiid? He's pretty much damaged goods. We know how dope Joel Embiid is when he's healthy. We all know this. But what are you getting back for Joel Embiid? So the crazy thing is, their quickest way to getting back to where they want to be would actually probably be to trade Tyrese Maxey. But I don't think they're going to do that, because they want to keep this young core, as you just mentioned, they have in the backcourt. But the problem with that is, all right, to move that money off the team, especially in the second apron world, that's going to take a couple years. And if you can't sell Embiid, if you can't sell Paul George, who's got 3 years left on his contract, I think Embiid's 3 as well too. That's a
Yeah.
lot. If we're talking about 2, it's a different world. 3 is a lot for somebody to take that money in their injury history. I don't know, man. They're in a tough place. Um, they're in a tough place. So I don't know what you do, but I do like I do like Edgecombe. I
Yeah.
liked him coming out of college. A lot of people were high on him in terms of people I talked to around the draft. I do like him. I do think Quentin Grimes, he obviously had to sign the 1 year, $8.7 million deal. He's going to be motivated this year to get that multi-year deal next year when there's more teams with money on the market. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The Sixers is tough. It's a tough spot, man. Is it like I could see if they were healthy, I could see them being a top 5 team, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Right, and that's why I say they're kind of like they're that mystery team. But with Embiid, you can't rely on him. Like I said, unless they're gonna tell me that like we're not bringing in Joel Embiid until after the All-Star break, we're gonna have him go pedal to the metal from February on. But I don't even know if his knee could hold up at that time.
And there's some stuff I'll share with you off the air, but there's. I think that organization is concerned about that as well too. Is what I'll say, and it has been a concern for some time. And they really didn't know how to play things last season with it. Like I had the homie Keith Pompey was on my show last year. Shout out to Keith from the Philadelphia Inquirer, who covers the Sixers and fellow Pitt alum. He was telling me like, "Yo, we're just moving through this." Not we, but he was saying the team is moving through this. Like they don't know what to do. They don't know what the lineup is going to be. They didn't know who they were going to play. Last year was so rough for them. And so I think there's a lot of uncertainty just in terms of the health, who can be available, when they're going to be available, who they could pencil in for this many games. They probably don't want to play. I'm not reporting this. They probably don't want to play Joel Embiid on back-to-backs. Then how do you manage him if and when you get to the playoffs?
Right.
That's not an ideal situation for any, just in terms of team building and how you're trying to project your roster going forward and what you want to do. That's just not an ideal situation for any franchise. So it's tough because, listen, Maxi's a dope player. We know how good Maxi is, and Edgecombe looks like he's coming, and Grimes is has turned himself to a good player, starting to play up to his potential. And Jared McCain, he's on his way to Rookie of the Year before he got hurt last year.
Yeah.
So they got some players, but what do they have in their front court? Maybe Kelly Oubre has a bounce back year this year. He didn't shoot the ball well last year, but to be fair to him, he was being asked to do a lot last year. Yeah, they're a very interesting team to watch because if it goes bad early, CP, you might start hearing about them selling some pieces. They might have to look and say, hey, our quickest way to this rebuild is trading Maxey. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but he's their most valuable asset that actually is tradable right now. True. So he's under a fine contract for his age, and he's been a former All-Star. So we'll see.
Yeah, good points, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel, CP the Franchise. Dexter Henry in the building, man. Let me salute. I see some chats in here. Dex, Brandon Hunt, Grenada in the building. All right, so one of your countrymen in the building here.
Spice Man, big up.
Yeah, man. Salute to Show Nuff in the chat, franchise channel member on the KFTV side, #1 on the chat leaderboard. Shout out to you, Show Nuff. He says Jalen will be fine. He played alongside Luka. He'll be just fine. Shout out to Will Latimer, Mike Rambo, Never Forgive Action. Salute to you, Stevie Nicks. I'm watching. Shout out my guy Chip, man. My guy Chip is out there in Abu Dhabi, representing the Road Warriors. So Chip is out there. He says Abu Dhabi is full of legends right now. So I guess there's a lot of people out there. And then he said Embiid is miserable even in person. So maybe Chip ran into the process out there and it wasn't a good exchange.
Chip, what did you say to him? That's what we want to know. Did you say something to make Embiid miserable?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Chip, what did you say to that man? Well, listen, man, we talk about Joel Embiid and his injury issues. Let's go to another often injured player with some interesting expectations this year, and that is Zion Williamson. The Pelicans are down in Melbourne, Australia. They took on Melbourne United earlier this morning here in the East Coast time. Obviously won that game, but, going into media day, Zion, a much slimmer Zion, was featured there. And it's just the same old questions every year. It's like, will this guy finish healthy and actually help the Pelicans? Because I'm not sure if I can't remember the last number one pick where it's like when they're on, the production is stellar. The efficiency, the numbers are off the charts. But here's a guy who only played 214 games and missed 258. I don't know if I've ever seen it. We've seen number one picks not live up to expectations just based on production. We've seen some not be available. Greg Oden's in terms of straight injury and not, no production and be injured. But here's a guy in Zion who, when he's on, he's nice. He's money, but he's always off. he's always
off. And and then he's had the, you get into all the off court stuff with him and that. Look, here's what I'm gonna say. Somebody had sent this to me. They was like, what do you think about Zion Williams, the weight loss and everything, what he could do? Basically the same thing you asking CP. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's cool. And that looks good. And I'm go back to my thing. Everybody's in the best shape of their life in the offseason, preseason. But hey, man, when you get back to the Big Easy, and for those who've been to the Big Easy, some good eating down there, man. Some good one of the best food cities in America.
You're gonna find. Oh, yes. New Orleans food is on the money.
If you have not been in New Orleans, go down there and have you might come back a couple pounds heavier.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. But hey, when he gets back home, what's his discipline like to stay that way? And I'm not saying that to body shame or fat shame or anything. I'm just saying in terms of the discipline it takes for an athlete to stay at a high level, I think sometimes that is understated in terms of conditioning and physique for a lot of these athletes, professional athletes. And so he has to show that, and then he's got to stay in the court. I mean, a lot of it for Zion CP is you got to prove it. We know how dope he could be because you're right. It's not about production on the court for him. It's about availability, and the best ability is availability, and he has not been available. So I think he's got to show it. I'm intrigued to see how the weight loss, how that impacts him on the defensive end more than anything. I'm really intrigued to see it because I do think, listen, he's one of the craziest athletes we've ever seen in terms of college, but I always was worried about his weight because I thought that, all that explosion and torque off of his legs, that could hurt his knees or legs later on. But if Zion is committed to this through the season and he gets it and understands this is kind of his last stand in a way, you think about it. If he's committed, they could be really good. Now, I don't know how good this Pelicans team is around him, but we just have never seen how good the Pelicans could be in the last 3 seasons because he hasn't been available. So, Zion, man, this is a huge year because if he does not stay available and produce this year, then the B word comes out. Then you're going to start hearing bust. And I said this, I don't remember if it was on your show, CP, or another show. I was like, look, you look at that draft, and you look at Zion at 1, Ja Morant at 2, RJ Barrett at 3. For the Knicks fans out there, who's the guy you trust to be on the court the most right now?
Right.
It's RJ Barrett.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the most talented of the 3. I'm just saying I trust him to be there more than those other 2 guys. Now, Ja, some of that stuff is, self-inflicted, some of his injuries. But, RJ Barrett's just been more available.
RJ right now is kind of the last man, the rating supreme of the first 3 picks. And I remember the outcry. I remember being there at Slattery's when we had the watch party for the number 1 pick. And we like, damn, we got 3rd. We don't get Zion. We don't get Ja Morant. We need these guys. We got RJ. They traded him. You just never know how this thing works out.
But you know what's funny? CP, this is a good question for you of all people because you were there watching it. I remember where I was that night watching it. Would you trade any of that back?
No.
Yeah, you still haven't played the same way, right?
Yeah.
To be where you are right now.
Yeah.
As a Knicks fan, you would still have it the same way.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when you see how, because remember, it wasn't just Zion isolated. It was the prospects of, because remember, everybody and their mom thought we was getting KD and Kyrie. So he's like, yo, we about to get KD, Kyrie, we about to draft Zion. This team is going to be amazing, right? Didn't work out that way, man. Absolutely did not work out that way. But
it's been fine, though.
Yes. But, the Pelicans thing is interesting. Youngest team in the league. They fire David Griffin. They bring in Joe Dumars. His first splash is trading their first-round pick to bring in Quick out of Maryland, who's a Zion clone. So you give up your first-round pick to the Hawks, who became the winners of this thing.
Still don't understand that trade.
You got the youngest team in the league. McCollum's gone. Ingram is gone. You're in the West. I don't know where they're trying to go with this thing, unless they think, hey, maybe Zion has, a great year, a semi-healthy year. Last year, even though he left, he had career highs in rebounds, 7.2, assists, 5.3, steals, 1.2. First player in NBA history to average 24 points in fewer than 30 minutes a game. Unless they're thinking, hey, we can maybe still try to get a first-round pick for him. I don't know where they're going. What is Joe Dumars doing with this team?
That's a great question. And there's I don't say a lot of pressure. There's pressure on Joe Dumars to reshape this. Now, it's a little different because he's in New Orleans. But I think Willie Green is a good coach. I do. But he's on a hot seat. The seat is hot.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of it is fair for him because he's had a lot of injuries, right? But Joe Dumars, they got to figure out what this is. You know what this year is about, CP? Mm-hmm. They got to figure out what the vision is, because I'm sure. I'm gonna say I'm sure. I assume. I would hope anybody coming in and taking a job in the front office would have a vision. I'd hope so. What that vision is, I think, will become clearer. Like, if he doesn't like the way Willie Green coaches, are they trying to? I got to think they're trying to play faster. Part of the reason they want Zion slimmed down, maybe they want to try to use him more. I did think getting Derek Queen was a interesting move to be paired next to Zion. So I'm intrigued to see how that all works out. But look, they've got some good wing defenders in Trey Murphy and Herb Jones that I like as players, some good two-way players. But where are they in the West, right?
Yeah.
And I don't what's a good season for them? If they're in the play-in, I feel like that's a success to me.
Well, given the fact that they don't got that first-round pick, they better they better try to level up there.
Good point. They have no incentive to lose, right? To be bad, to they can't get a higher pick. I still don't understand that trade. That trade just makes no sense to me.
Crazy.
It made no sense to me. Here's the thing. Now that got me thinking about that. If that ends up blowing up in their face for however that looks, bad season, whatever, that's the kind of trade that gets you fired.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's only so much more you can kick that down the road, where it's like, okay, we're going to blame the coach. We'll fire him. We're going to do, how much more you do before you don't fire yourself, but the owner fires you, right? Gail Benson is like, all right, we got to, this is I didn't think about it like that. They kind of got to win this year. Yeah. They got to at least make the play-in and show some progress, because if they make the play-in and they're sort of a tough out, or they somehow get into the playoffs, that's a huge success. And Zion plays, let's just say, 72 games. I'm gonna throw that out there. Zion plays 72 games. They get in the playoffs. They might have another Mardi Gras parade down there. You know what I'm saying? They might do that. So he's got to figure out they got to figure out the plan is. I think big part of the plan is what you're asking. It starts with Zion. I got to know what Zion is. Is he another guy? Is he a guy after his contract extension that we're going to invest more money in, or not? And I feel like you're not really going to know the answer to that for 2 seasons, but you need to see him on the court mainly for at least this season.
I got a sleeper team for you.
Because
I think it's over with. I think ultimately they're going to try to trade him.
To trade
I got
Zion.
An interesting team here. If he's like the slimmer version, plays at this rate 24/7 and 5. If you're getting that, what about Detroit? Running with him and Cade. I think that'd be, if I'm Trajan Langdon, I'm trying to think aspiring contenders. Who would be willing to take on that risk? The better Detroit gets, the worse their picks are gonna be. Meaning, like, what is their best way of upgrading that team to be a true contender, not just a scrappy, we're happy to be here, we're trying to make a little noise. No, like, we're here. That might be a good gamble for Detroit, man.
I like that. Because I also somebody before this offseason had mentioned to me, when it was kind of not known what would happen with Triple J in Memphis, they had mentioned him as like being a trade partner. This was just somebody else who like covers hoops. We were just talking about it and be for Detroit, and I was like, I like that because I think Detroit needs a big who's a little bit more versatile offensively. So I love what you're going for here. I think the key is, what does Detroit give up? Now, if I'm New Orleans, I'm probably going to ask for Jaden Ivey and Sir Thompson.
Yeah. Can't give up Asar. Ivy maybe, but you can't give up Asar.
Would you do? Because Ivy's a young piece. They signed him to an extension. He was injured last year, but he was shooting the ball really well before he went down. And he's really a player to watch for me this year for Detroit. They're gonna want another piece. You say no. You so if they said Asar and you're Detroit, you're saying no.
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
What if they say? I'm not looking at Spotrac or anything, so I'm trying to think of the money.
Money wise, yeah. I'm sure. I think from what I read, Tobias, because his contract, they don't have a lot of guys making a lot of money on that team.
That's a perfect filler contract in there, and he's got another like 2 years on his deal. Yeah. That's what you want, right? Somebody come in, steady veteran, not gonna mess anything up, good presence. Tobias is a great dude. The money worth. All right, so Ivy, Tobias.
First round pick.
Right. One first rounder?
Probably.
What if New Orleans asked for two, what are you saying?
Nah.
I kind of agree. I'd say no two.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't do two. You go one first?
One first. If I'm giving you Ivy, I give you one first. I think it's worth a shot.
I think New Orleans will try to push for two. I'm not sure they will push for two. And I think the reason I'm not sure they will get to, excuse me, is what I mean to say. The reason I say that is because I think we're just talking like if we were making a deal, there's trepidation about like what's everybody else's interest around the league in getting Zion. Are people like knocking down the door of the Pelicans to get Zion?
Right.
Not so sure. Now, the point you're making though, CP, is what you're saying is, to be very clear, is like if this season is going well and Zion's on the court and he's putting up numbers like he did last year in his limited time, I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's actually the right move for the Pelicans to sell high. Sell high. It may never get better than this. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
So
I think that's what Joe Dumars has to be banking on. That you gave up the first round pick for a Zion clone. That's crazy. Then to have the two of them trying to coexist, it's not going to work.
See, but if that's the vision, which he'll never come out and say, and he can't, I get that. But if that's the vision to rebuild the team, I completely understand it. And you're like, hey, Zion's not my guy. I want to get my guys in here. I understand that. You know what I mean? Now, Willie Green might not be long for that and all that other stuff, but like, yeah, then maybe you try to eventually move DeJounte Murray down the road. That might be the next step. But yeah, Detroit's a perfect partner.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're saying. What I think is a team that's like knocking on the door that could get him. It's almost like what Orlando did to get Desmond Bane this year, but Caden, a slim down, inspired Zion.
That could be nice. He needs a floor general, man. Shout out to Eric Horn down in Jackson, Mississippi. He says the problem with the Saints is that, the problem with the Pelicans is that they got the Saints executives running the team. He might be right. But then they added Joe Dumars, and it was like, all right, things should be settled. And the first thing he does is give up that next year pick.
Eric, you're not wrong because. Listen, if you've been to New Orleans and been around that area, Eric, you're from Jackson, Mississippi. They care more about the Saints in that town than they do anything first and foremost. So even I think for Gail Benson and company, the Pelicans are unfortunately second. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be very interesting. But they do have listen, Joe Dumars. I know it's a long time ago, but was a competent basketball guy.
Right.
We now have to see what he does. This isn't '04. This ain't the Pistons, but we'll see what he does here.
As we segue to the final topic, man, when you think about see what he does, the Rockets got to see what's going on, especially with the loss of Fred VanVleet. And during their media day, Ime Udoka alluded to the fact that, hey, man, he's going to lean in on bully ball, envisioning lineups that could consist of Amen Thompson, Asor's brother, Jabari Parker, Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun, and Steven Adams. Not to say that that's going to be his starting five, but he's thinking going big. But overall, man, I think the Rockets got to figure out some things with the absence of Fred VanVleet, man. What's your thoughts?
Nah, they do. Well, here's the first thing, CP. And that was my thought. I'm not surprised I'm not even surprised that Ime said that, because I was like, look, they're probably going to play Amen a lot at point guard. And I like Amen Thompson. I am very high on Amen Thompson. But we've seen this time and time again for all guys and ladies out here watching the NBA. The point guard is the most difficult position to come in and play. I know Amen's been playing for a couple of years, but he's not been playing on the ball at the point. Now you're asking him to do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying that it's a lot. And it's going to be a huge learning curve. And I don't know who else do they have on the roster. Is it Aaron Brooks? Is there other point?
They have Aaron Holiday.
Aaron Holiday. Sorry,
Yeah,
I said Aaron Brooks.
yeah.
That's a old Houston Rocket.
Oh yes,
my bad.
A good
Aaron
one.
Holiday.
A good one. That boy's a dog,
Very
sleeper.
True. And then you also would say, okay, is Reed Shepherd ready to handle that role? I'm not necessarily so sure about that. But Aaron Holiday, I think you're gonna have to do that. I think them leaning into the height, that's cool. I don't know if that lineup has enough shooting for my liking.
Yeah.
In terms of spacing and stretch of floor. I mean, we know KD is easy money sniper there, but I got concerns about that. Now they're going to have to figure it out. And I don't think the transition of Amen playing point will be as easy as some people think. Again, I think he's extremely talented. Love him as a two-way player. But I think asking him to put the ball in his hands and create for others, that is a different thing. And that is a huge learning curve at the NBA level. So they got to figure some things out. And the way they are up against the cap, they don't really have room, to go out and get another point guard right now. So it's really tough. They really can't do anything. They're kind of stuck till the deadline.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. But listen, it's a FVV going down is a huge loss because they really don't have another point guard. And I get it. For a lot of people, Aaron Holiday is not going to be sexy, but you're going to have to see significant minutes from Aaron Holiday. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And I think, look, I think it'll be a lot of, point guard by committee. KD's going to have a lot more responsibility. And that's another thing, you go out there and trade for KD and now his role increases as his age increases. So his usage is going to go back up because now you got to run more offense through him. Is that ideal for KD at his age?
No,
I think that's
CP.
interesting, man.
No, it's a great point. That's not what you want. That's like what you didn't want if you were the Rockets. You don't want to give him more usage at his age. You want to try to bring that down. Somebody in the chat said Kolek to the Rockets. That's funny. I see you. Who said that? Oh, Stevie Nicks said that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stevie Nicks. He said Kolek to the Rockets. I mean, I see you out there looking for a trade partner. I see you.
Yeah.
But yeah, to that point, you don't want KD having that high level usage. And listen, even KD doesn't want that at his age. He was kind of coming, KD, I think, is the most malleable superstar that we've probably ever seen in this game. But, you can't ask him to do that much at the age of 37. That's not what you want. As great as KD is, that's not what you want. So they got to figure some things out, man. It's just a tough blow. You know? It's why health matters so much in sports and in the NBA.
And I would say, the idea of bringing him in when VanVleet was healthy was great because it would allow them to tap into a rising star in Alperen Sengun, who was the second most double-team player in the league last year. The problem was that the Rockets shot just 30% from three off of his double teams. And so you brought in Durant to try to help that. Now you lose VanVleet. So one of the things is that Sengun himself is going to have to be shooting more threes. And we saw a little bit of that in Eurobasket. He's going to have to let it fly a little bit more. And then they're going to have to tap into Reed Shepherd and live and die with his weaknesses, whether that's putting him more off ball because he's not really a playmaker and dealing with his lack of size on the defensive end and his vulnerabilities there, figuring out how to cover him up. The good thing about the Rockets is that they have so many defenders. They can have him out there. I think they can afford to have him out there and figure out how to cover up his weaknesses because he's really the only one guy in that rotation that is weak defensively. But then offensively, you're just going to have to tap in with him as a three-point shooter.
Yeah, he's going to really help them stretch the floor, and they need that. They still, when you looked at the team last year, you like they needed more shooting. They added that with KD. I think Reed Shepherd's development and how he comes up and is able to shoot better could be better. Also, Sor Thompson, right? Like, how does he develop as a shooter, particularly from downtown? And he's going to be asked to do a lot more with the ball in his hands. Again, I can see that looking good. I can see that also looking rough early on for him. How does he develop with that? So I wouldn't jump if we see a source struggling and he's got 6 or 7 turnovers in some of these games, I think you're going to see games like that for him. You're going to see, because this is all going to be an adjustment. But I agree with you. I think Reed Shepherd's actually really important. You're right. They're good enough defensively to cover up some of his limitations because I almost feel like they got to play him. You don't have anybody else that can help stretch the floor. And Sengun, who we saw in the playoffs last year, hesitant a bit to shoot the three, but can hit the three. He's got to be a little bit more willing to let it fly just to keep defenses honest, because right now teams are going to sag off of everybody pretty much except for KD, and dare the Rockets to beat them from the outside.
Yeah, no question about it, man. We got one question coming in. How you looking on time, Dex? It's 2:00 now, so just keep me honest.
I got go for like another 10 minutes.
Okay. Shout out to our guy Greg Film Stuff in the chat.
That's the homie.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Greg. His question is $10 super chat from Greg, number 1 on the chat leaderboard. Says, sup, fellas, who are you guys picking for the most improve? I hate Indy, but Nembhard is nice. I can see him stepping up big time this year, still making Indy a tough out without Tyrese. Andrew Nembhard, man. Nembhard, what do you think, man?
I like that. First of all, what's up, Greg? That's my little bro,
yep.
Mentee there. Shout out to Greg. I like Nembhard because I think I looked at the odds on this other day. He was like second in most improved odds, and I think it makes a lot of sense because he's the guy that's another point guard that's going to be stepping in for Halliburton. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, so we should be able to cook. But here's the thing. It's one thing to do it when you're playing off somebody else, another thing to do it when you got to have the ball in his hands. I'm not saying Nembhard can't do it, and we know he's big time in the playoffs. We've seen him come up with big time shots and big time games, but sometimes players get exposed when they have that much usage. Another guy I would look at is like, because I think he's just going to have more touches, Derek White on the Celtics. I think I think he's a good candidate. If you could look at with that, I think he's somebody you should definitely look at there too. He's going to get a lot more touches. There's no Jason Tatum. Who else are they going to put the ball in his hands? I think that could be really good. I also say don't sleep. I don't know if he'll get enough minutes, but I'm going to bring it back to the Knicks. Don't sleep on Deuce McBride. If he's healthy, don't sleep on him. And I wouldn't sleep on him for 6th man of the year either this year. I think I'd look at him for that too. So those are some guys that like. I also will put Amen Thompson in there because if he does what he has to do with the ball in his hands, and rookie most improved is always a weird award for me because I don't really like giving it to lottery picks.
Yeah,
personally, I hate that. If it was me, I was voting, I wouldn't. I like the guys like the Nembhards and the Derek White. I know has done it for years. We know how good he is in the playoffs, but I could see Derek White in a world where he puts up efficiently 16 to 17 this year, and that's like a huge jump for him, especially if his usage goes up. Because I think the usage is going up. He's going to have the ball in his hands more because you don't want to put it too much in Jaylen Brown's hands because he can turn the ball over. So you got to be careful with that. But yeah, those are some guys. I like Nembhard though. I think if you like Nembhard, I think if you're betting, if you are, I think that's a great bet. Nembhard's going to have a lot of chances. I would say look for guys who you think are trending upward and then have opportunities to do a little bit more. I think those are guys you should definitely look at.
Yeah, Amen Thompson is the favorite right now.
He's the
Amen
favorite.
Thompson,
okay,
especially with no Van Fleet. him assuming more of those point guard duties, the year that he had last year. I think that there's a good chance Amen Thompson. I like Michael Porter Jr.'s name on this list. He moves over.
Where is he? What's his odds?
He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. 10.
I like that.
He's 10. I like it. He's with the Nets, team with nothing to play for. Right? He doesn't have to assume that tertiary or that fourth role like he did with Denver and kind of just play off of what Jokic and Murray want to do. He's a guy now, the best player on that team. Well, if you want to argue with Cam Thomas, he has the opportunity there to kind of go out there, let it fly, showcase himself. I also like Benedict Mathurin, man. I like Benedict Mathurin on the Pacers. Greg Film Stuff mentioned Andrew Nebhard. Benedict Mathurin is most likely going to be starting in Tyrese Halliburton's absence with everybody moving up. And I like what I saw from him, especially closing things out in the playoffs, man. He killed the Knicks with his athleticism, his ability to get to the basket, and that could allow him to take a step up. He averaged 16 points per game last year. Does he get closer in the 20s range, a little bit over? Carlisle's offense is kind of equal opportunity, and it'll probably be a bit more so given the absence of Halliburton. But I wouldn't necessarily sleep on Benedict Mathurin, man. I really like how he finished the year.
I wouldn't either. He's a walking bucket, man. Like, I wouldn't sleep on him either. And again, he's another guy that benefits with Halliburton now. Like you're saying, he's going to get more touches. I don't know if Carlisle's still going to use him off the bench. Is he going to start him? That should be very interesting to see as well, too, because there's some changes to that Pacers lineup, especially with Halliburton out and also Miles Turner, out there in Milwaukee. Mathurin's another good name. That's a good name.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not surprised Amen Thompson is the favorite now. I think about it. I'm not surprised at that at all. I think Amen Thompson, but there's a lot of weight on. I would have loved that for him more if Van Vliet was there. I feel like it's a better bet. Mm-hmm. Now there's going to be a lot of weight on him, and I think he's going to have the ball in his hands. And I think there's going to be some adjustment periods to that. I'm rooting for the young man. I hope he can still cook. But yeah, there's going to be a adjustment there for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. Real quick, I think we may have a call on the Discord. Jaden R, go ahead and unmute your mic. Jaden R, if you're on the Discord, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hello.
Yep. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
What's up, Jaden?
What's up? I have a quick hypothetical about Josh Hart and his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say with his back injury and finger, he can play the whole season at like 70, 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather him do that? Or let's say sit for the first half of the season, come back in January and February and come back at 100% if he fixes everything?
No, I think, and appreciate the call. I think, clearly they weren't given an optimistic timeline on the finger, and they think that it's worth just gutting it out with the splint. And also, whether he's at 100 or 70%, I believe that he's a person who can impact the game in different ways where he needs his legs, right? He needs his legs, go grab the boards, play make. He took one shot yesterday in yesterday's game. That's going to be interesting to see, but I still think he can impact the game where even if he's not 100%, he can still help, and most likely he'll be coming off the bench.
Yeah, I also will add, here's what I'll say to that. I think, let's say, I'm going to put a time on this. Let's say we get to mid-December near Christmas and we're hearing that the finger's still a big issue for Josh Hart. Because that's the thing for me. If it's going to affect his hesitancy to shoot, and I think they're going to play it cautious with him with the back injury he had yesterday, and it appears to not be that serious. But if it's affecting him, and we already know he's hesitant to shoot, and then it's affecting the shot, I think there's a world in which the Knicks say to him, hey, man, let's go get this procedure, get this right, and come back for the playoffs. I think the Knicks are going to play everything to be ready for the playoffs. But I think he's going to give it a go. I don't think he's not going to try to start the season and play with the splint, because I think there's a world in which he plays with the splint and he's fine. He can manage the pain or whatever, and it's not affecting his shot. That's going to be the key. If it's affecting his shot or his ability to go after balls or not be the Josh Hart we know, then I think the Knicks will tell him, like, all right, man, let's take a seat here. Let's get this right. Come back. The goal is to be right by the playoffs, and I think that will be the right moves. But I think he's going to give it a shot to start this season. So to your question, yeah, Jaden, I think they'll play this sort of by ear early on. But, that's also on the player, too. I'm not calling Josh Hart a liar, but I'm just saying you want the players to always be honest with you and the medical staff so that the best thing can be done for the team. So hopefully that's what happens. But I think that's how they'll play it.
All right. Shout out to Jaden, man. Appreciate the call, Jaden. Dex, great show, man. Great show. Everybody in the chat, everybody watching on the KFTV side, on the NBA Report side. Hey, listen, make sure you guys are subscribing to the NBA Report, man, especially if you guys are on the KFTV side. Head over to the NBA Report and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you guys are subscribing to New York Post Sports, as you can catch Dexter and all of his content. Check out my guy, Brandon London, covering the New York Football Giants. Our guys are doing the damn thing over there, man. So make sure that you guys are supporting those guys as well, and keep it rocking for this weekend, man. Shout out to my guy Julio, aka the KFTV Watch Party Maitre D, man. He said he's on a flight right now, on a Delta flight, watching. Dex, are you able to stream YouTube on Delta flights? I never have good luck with Wi-Fi in planes, bro.
Neither do I. Not that I've ever been able to stream anything good. Like, the most I'm able to do is send some messages. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Bro, I've been one of those people that have been railing against airplane Wi-Fi for the longest, man. It never works. Once you get across the water to go somewhere international, it never works. The TVs don't work. How the TVs don't work? We got satellites left, right, and center, man. You know.
Yo, this needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
We got to improve airplane Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Got to get better. It has not been. You made me think about. I've never. It's always because you download some movies before or whatever. Especially you can take a long flight. But man, it's never worked for me. So shout out to him. Shout out to. He said he's flying Delta.
He's flying. I rock with Delta Heavy. Those are my guys.
Rock with Delta Heavy. They no sponsorship, but Still, I good to see that it's worked for him. That's what's up.
Yeah, he says real-time streaming, man. Listen, man, when you guys come to KFTV Watch Party, I told you, Julio is at every one. Go to the bar and ask for Julio. He'll show you around, establish a protocol, everything you need to do. Ask for Julio as soon as you get into the building, all right?
Have I met Julio at one of your watch parties?
Probably.
I probably have. Okay, shout out to you, Julio. Yeah. I feel like I've been to a bunch of KFTV watch parties, so okay.
He's always there, man. One more super chat I got to shout out. Shout out to a guy, Mr. J. Russ, $20 super chat franchise channel member. He says, can we just give thanks to KFTV for giving us true Knicks fans and overall New York fans a true platform. I remember when I had to just rely on the MSG network. So shout out to y'all. Year 9 uploading, and I'm here for it. Mr. J. Russ, kind words, man. We definitely appreciate you. And hey, make sure, again, Dex is doing the damn thing on New York Post Sports, especially on that Knicks talks, man. So make sure you guys are over there. I'll be over there in studio, remote, whatever it is. So make sure that you guys are supporting your local content creators.
We got some stuff with CP coming up soon before the season. You know how we always do. So
yes, sir.
A lot of good stuff coming soon. And Jay Russ, love seeing you support independent content creators. Everybody knows me. I'm all about that. So love seeing that. And we know KFTV is a great platform for Knicks fans. And when we all unite, it's all dope. So love it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the time, my guy. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll catch up, man. Great show as always, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. That was my guy, Dexter Henry, in the building, man. Like, share, and subscribe. So to everybody who tapped in today. Hey, man, if you guys want topics on KFTV NBA Report, leave us a comment, and we'll try to get it to you. We'll try to get you the best guests, as we usually do. And on the KFTV side, you guys already know, man, tomorrow, Knicks versus Sixers, Game 2. I'll see if we're going to do the play-by-play. Can't guarantee it yet, but definitely post-game, you already know the deal. Alex will be on, and our guy, J. Cal, will be on. We'll be simulcasting on J. Cal's platform as well. So looking forward to that. Shout out to all my franchise channel members, all of my NBA Report fanatics, and enjoy the weekend, man. Beautiful Friday here in New York. Hope it's the same for you guys. Keep it positive, man. There's a lot of negative energy out there around the world right now, man. Keep it positive. Stay one with your family. Stay unified.